Security and risk management is the first domain of CISSP certification training, where we will be talking about general and important security concepts as well as security risk management. I'm going to start this domain with a quote from Richard Branson. "You've got to take risks if you're going to succeed. I would much rather ask forgiveness than permission." Taking risks is an unavoidable part of any work. The market, environment, and customer demands are always changing, and companies need to take risks in order to improve and succeed in what they do. The goal of information security is to help those companies to minimize the IT-related risks as much as possible. The key here is that we can never completely get rid of risks or remove them, but we can minimize them to an acceptable level. Let's start the first domain with the most important concept in information security, and that is CIA, or confidentiality, integrity, and availability, also known as CIA triad. These three main principles are the foundation of cybersecurity and need to be considered on pretty much anything that we do. As you can see, we have other important principles like authenticity, accuracy, non-repudiation as part of the integrity principle, and we will be talking about those shortly as well. The first principle on CIA triad is confidentiality. Confidentiality is about keeping the data safe and secure and only available to those who need it. Sensitive information must be only available to authorized people and must not be shared or accessed by any unauthorized person. Some examples of confidential data are personal identifiable information, or PII, protected health information, or PHI, and intellectual property, or IP. Some examples of security controls to ensure confidentiality of sensitive information are encryption, separation of duty, and least privileges. We will talk about all these in more detail with some more examples later in this chapter. The second principle on CIA triad is the integrity principle. Integrity is all about making sure we can trust the data and the sender and the recipient. There are three important principles or concepts to ensure the integrity of the data. The first one is the authenticity, which means that the recipient of the data or a message needs to be sure that the sender is authentic and in fact is who claim to be. It's very common in cybersecurity and cyber attacks to see someone is pretending to be someone else in order to do something malicious. The second principle is the accuracy, which is about making sure the data is always accurate and has not been modified by an unauthorized person or entity. And the third principle is non-repudiation, and it is about making sure that the sender or recipient isn't able to deny the transaction later on. A simple example is if I authorize a money transfer from my account, my bank account, to another, I should not be able to deny that later on. The last principle on CIA triad is availability. This principle ensures that systems and data are available to the users at all times without any interruption. A few concepts to keep in mind with this particular principle. Redundancy and failover. To make sure a failure on one component of a system or application wouldn't have an impact on the overall operation and the users. Accessibility. Systems and applications must be available to the users at all time without delays or interruption. And finally, disaster recovery. When a disaster happens at one location or on some systems, there should be a way to recover the system operation and the application operation, and that shouldn't have an impact on the users.